Hello, Smite fans. Welcome to the second episode of the Gank Right Lane podcast. This week we'll be talking about Stuart replacing DudemanBro on the Gladiators and Neilmah replacing Mast as coach of the Ferryman. We'll be giving you our power rankings for Phase 1 of the SPL, and we're going to be talking about the 10.2 bonus update. How are you doing today, John?
Absolutely. I am fantastic. How are you doing, Alex?
I'm doing all right.
Good. Love to hear it.
Yeah,
Love to hear it. I've been waiting for this, man. Episode 2. It's a
I
big
know.
This isn't just a one and done.
Yeah,
We're serious about
I
this. It's
know.
kind of scary.
I know. I've told my
But I'm
parents about
excited.
it.
You know it's getting serious when you tell your parents about
Yeah.
it.
Both of my
Yeah.
parents know about it.
This is this is exciting. We're back round 2 and we've got some good topics today, man.
I know. They're
They've
so
been
good. They were chosen for us. Last week we kind of had to choose what we wanted to talk about. Obviously we're
right.
going to talk about the play-ins, but our other thing, the our favorite gods, we
Oh,
kind of
our
had to
favorite guys, yeah.
decide. Yeah, we kind of had to decide what topic we were going to talk about. And this
But
week,
this, I mean, it's like writing its own story for us.
yeah,
Very little work has to be done here.
yeah,
Um, Makes our jobs easier, obviously.
oh for sure.
And I'm sure we're not going to get this lucky throughout the season, but now we are, and I'm going to take it. So, starting off, DudemanBro, he was on the play-ins, the carry ADC for the Gilded Gladiators has now
Everybody's
been
favorite
removed. Every Dude
team.
Bro or the
Yeah,
Gladiator?
the
Okay,
team,
team.
not Dude Man Bro. Fuck
Good
that guy.
answer. Good answer. Yeah, has been replaced. He was actually removed. Ruling, I don't exactly know what rule, where it's at in the books, but upon entering the SPL, the organization does background checks on each of the entering players, and they had found an account linked to DudemanBro that had been banned for harassment, including racial slurs and stuff of the sorts. And so he is no longer allowed. He is indefinitely banned for at least the first phase of season 10, I believe it is. And he can appeal with good behavior. He can appeal the ban and be allowed to compete competitively, but at least for the first couple months, he's out.
Yeah, and here's the thing: is it has probably cost him his chance in the SPL. What team is going to replace any of the carries on their team with Dude Man Bro? Not just because
Right.
of what he said, but because of his skill level. He's worse than all of them.
I agree. I think honestly it works out the best for everyone. He's gone. The Gladiators get a better carry. It makes the league
Yep.
more competitive.
We should probably mention who that carry is. It's Stuart,
It's
who
Stuart, which
last
by the
season
way,
was playing in the World Championship Finals.
yes, he's a good carry. Like, I'm surprised he wasn't on a team to begin with.
Well, I mean, he was on the 7th team. They just didn't make it in
Yes.
because they choked.
Right. Yeah. I'm surprised he wasn't on an automatically qualifying team though.
Right.
Personally, but
There's
the
a lot of
sort
good
of
carries right now.
poetic part about it to me is that Stuart he was in season I can't remember if it was the end of season 8 or the beginning of season 9. I'm pretty sure it was the end of season 8. Was the first African American professional Smite player ever.
That's wild.
He's earned that title. I know it took him 8 years. The dude got in. It was season 8, yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it. And the
I can
man
look when he started. I have
was
the
kicked
website pulled up.
for using racial slurs. And it just kind of works out, you know. The racist guy gets removed and replaced the first ever professional African American player who is leagues better than him.
Right.
You know, I agree. You say he doesn't have a chance. That could be the end of his SPL run, and I think you're totally right. His skill is nowhere near these guys in the league.
You had a player rankings you showed us all, and you had DudemanBro at 17th out of 8.
Yeah, he definitely looked much worse than everyone else, every other carry. I think every other player in the league.
Yeah.
And so I think it does work out for the league in total for the
Yeah,
Gladiators.
it's gonna make Gladiators a lot more competitive.
And for the fan base, you know, I've seen a lot of arguments that they should have done these background checks before.
Oh, for sure.
To compete. I agree. You know, I can argue that it's a smaller community, you know, and putting this much time and effort into even just the play-ins could be, you know, extra hassle for them that they can't afford. And I can see that. And I don't think.
I mean, is it though? Like, there's 20 teams in the SCC, right? Even if you did all of the SCC teams and all the SPL teams, that's, you know, they're already doing all the SPL teams, so there's only 100 extra people they have to look at. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, they should have done it before the play-ins, at least.
Yes. That would have only been
I'm
an extra, like, 40 people.
I'm glad we got it figured out.
Yes.
I was really wanting the Gladiators to make it. And so, you know, say he wasn't able to compete and they had even a lower rank. You know what? I'm using it. DudemanBro helped him barely. He tried to throw it. He tried to throw it, but he didn't. I mean, he didn't enough.
Right.
And he got him there, and then he gets to leave. So my least favorite part about the Gladiators is gone, and the rest of them are still there. And so I'm in a perfect position personally. And I think the rest
my
of the
conspiracy theory about this?
let's hear it.
My conspiracy theory is that the rest of the team knew, and they knew he was going to get caught, and they were like, he sucks, but if we make it to the SPL, we can just replace him. And that way, right? But, like, if they had chosen somebody, like, better than him, but, like, you know, not, like, at the top, then they would be stuck with him going in the SPL. Because the only reason they were allowed to replace him is because he got banned from the league. And that way they were able to get Stuart. And if they had
brain.
yeah, and if they had made it to the SPL and the Works had also made it, then the Hounds wouldn't be in, and they could have got Vaporish Coast, who also would have been a lot better, right? This way,
Yes.
if they weren't able to get those two for the play-ins, then they're able to replace their carry with a better carry once they made it. Although that is a huge risk because that made them not the favorites to make it in.
Yeah. I think also in my Zen was in the play-ins. I think he is very comparable. I don't know how much SEC you watch at all. Very comparable to DudemanBro. I think they're about the same skill level, except not racist. Fun fact.
Right.
And so
maybe that's why they got him.
Right with that pickup. That could have been the call, man.
Here's the thing. I don't at all believe what I just said, right? Like, I don't want to accuse these guys of that at all. You know what I mean? Because I feel like that's an actual, like, accusation. It's just, you know, my brain waters sometimes, and I thought of that, and I was like, huh, that'd be interesting if that's what had happened.
To think about.
Yeah, it's just something that popped into my brain.
Could be
I would never accuse any of these guys of actually doing that, though. You know what I mean? It's just something that pops into my brain as a bit of a big brain strategy.
I've never thought of it that way. It's just something to think about for sure. But yeah, the league's better off.
For sure.
And something I mean,
the league got to have the probably like 4th, 5th, 6th best carry in the world. You know, wherever you rank Stuart, he's probably around there, and he wasn't going to be in the SPL.
Okay, I can't wait till we get to our power rankings because we're going to argue about that one for a while.
You don't think he's a top 6 carry in the world?
No.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Well, I mean, I guess at
I'm
least
gonna
in
be
the
honest.
SPL. I forgot about like Hex Mambo players, but
Okay. I'm in SPL. Yeah, I don't
yeah,
think he's top 6.
that's crazy.
But anyway, one more roster change happened.
Oh, I
It
forgot. It's
was
because you think Cyclone Spin's good. That's why. We'll get there when we get there.
okay. Yeah. Um, masked. I always say that wrong. Masked, not masked.
Right,
Two
that's a
different
different
Smite
different guy.
personalities. Yes, masked. I put an emphasis on that. Was the coach of the Ravens. Has now been replaced by Neilmah, the former coach of the Niflheim Wargs.
And we
Team who,
don't know why.
yeah, it was very recent. I think it was this morning. Honestly, it happened. So there's literally almost no information on why this happened
Right.
besides that it has happened. Has come out yet. You know, I people are calling it crazy. His team just got reverse swept for the
Neilmah's
last
not
spot.
masked.
Yes, Neilmah's team, the Wargs just got reverse swept. So it's like, how good of a coach can you be? But I think a lot of that relies on the players.
And he was a pretty good player.
Right.
Not great, but he was decent.
He was a back-to-back champion, world champion, support player. I think he was the team captain. That's what you call it. He was the team captain for both those teams, so he had some sort of leadership responsibility.
Right.
And I think his knowledge for the game as well. I don't think his play the past couple of years has been up to par. But I think his knowledge is probably definitely still there. And I don't, how much of a difference does a coach really make, do you think,
I
on a
mean,
team?
I would assume they have some input on picks and bans. And
Right.
from what I saw of those play-ins, the picks and bans on those last 3 games that they lost were pretty bad.
You think so?
I I mean, didn't they like leave Maui open and not pick him a bunch of times in a row?
No, they dropped Maui to them all 3 games.
Yeah, didn't Maui win like every game, the entire play-ins, or something crazy like that?
Every game that whole season that he won.
And they kept
So
letting the other team pick him. So I don't think that's a good strategy.
I agree. Definitely not. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's just something that we'll see with time. I
I
mean, the
mean,
Ravens, I think we both agree, are a team that's questionable at best.
yes.
Very questionable team.
Is that who he
Um,
went to? The Ravens?
yep,
For some reason, I thought it was
yep.
the Ferryman.
No. They still have. Let me pull this up real quick. They have
So,
Reels X.
uh, I cannot at all remember what the teams were last year. Neilmah was
Yeah,
playing on the Warriors last year, right?
yes,
All
he
right,
was teamed with Mika and Vote and Dardes and Cuvo.
Hugo is retired, so nobody he's coaching right now.
Yes, correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make because I thought maybe that'd be why they were like, let's get our buddy in because we played with him. I mean, maybe they played with him in the past, like not last year, but
Right. I would have no information on that, honestly.
right, yeah. Who knows who's friends with you? Who, you know?
Right. And that's what a lot of people are also saying is this proves how much of a friends league this is. I don't know if you've ever heard the friends league term before
Yes.
about the SPL, but yeah, they're saying it's a big friends league because they're letting Neilmah back in as a coach. But I mean, I'm interested to see where it goes, and I think that's all. That just adds
Yeah.
even a bigger question mark to the Ravens this coming year than
Neilmah was the support, right?
yeah, yeah.
Their support's Heroines. That's probably the weakest position on their team. If you need somebody who is going to need help on your team, you probably want somebody who played that position coaching them.
Right.
And
I
if
could
they
also
decide
see.
Heroin sucks and they dump him, their coach is ready to replace him.
Yeah, I could definitely see that happening. Heroin doesn't perform well. I mean, you have like the next best guy in the bag.
Yeah.
And I think Gamma is also coming up from the SEC. I think he's a good pick. He played very well in the play-ins. I mean, Neilmah hasn't been playing very good, but that's at the SPL standard, you know. SEC and SPL are two totally different
Right.
dogs.
Yes.
However you
For
want
sure.
to term that. So, like, if you're looking like a bad player in the SPL, you could be like the greatest player of all time in the SEC.
Right. If
It's just,
Sam goes to the SEC instead of just like sitting on his hands or retiring or something, he's gonna tear that league apart. Like I'm pretty sure we talked last podcast about how like we're not he hasn't been meshing with teams really well. It doesn't matter. He's the most talented player in that league. He's gonna tear it apart.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. I think the SEC would have much rather had Kumir Oath.
For sure.
Down with them, but here they are. Good luck to them.
Yeah.
I know he's focusing a lot more on YouTube and Twitch right now, so hopefully he can kind of pick up with that and be successful doing that.
Yeah.
You know, because I hate to see him just sit around, but.
Yeah, and somebody else in the SPL gets found out to be racist and it's the jungle. Sam's probably willing and ready to go.
Yeah, let's hope not. But yeah,
I know. I definitely hope not. I want there to be as few racists in the league as possible. I'm just saying, in the case that does happen, he's ready to go.
None would be ideal.
Yes.
But,
the fewest possible is 0, and that is the ideal amount.
I know for sure Haddix. And I'm looking through the names real quick. So off the top of my head, Haddix was also, and Solo or Troll. They were also caught. Years ago they found Twitter posts or something of them using the N-word. And what they did is they came out, they say, I realize I did something wrong. I apologize. I've grown from that.
Right.
They got set back, and then they climbed their way back up to the SPL. And they did that.
DudemanBro could do the same thing.
It's too late for him. He posted, he made a big post on Twitter. He said, I had the pass. He said, I have a black friend.
Okay. Never mind.
He gave me the pass to say that. He said it was okay. He didn't directly say it was okay, but that's what he was saying. If he would have been like, yeah, you're right, I messed up.
All right.
I've grown from that. I've learned better. But what he said is, this past season, I've been doing better. He said that a week ago. That was the beginning of March. He's been better for 2 months.
Maybe he meant season 9, but
but like,
yeah. That if he really had the inward pass, he would know that you only use that in situations with people who've given you the inward pass. You know what I mean? That
doesn't make it better. He's just digging himself his own hole.
Right.
And
well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
I was stuck in. I don't think he's ever going to get a chance to come back from that.
Right. The inward pass isn't you can just say the inward whenever you want because there's one black person who likes you. It means that black person has given you permission to use the inward around them.
I mean, personally, I think you should have the respect to just not say it in general.
Right. But if you have the pass and they're okay with it, you know what I mean? You shouldn't say it in an area where it's going to be found out. But in the privacy of your own home and you have a black friend who respects you, I don't think it's that big of a deal.
I think that's a touchy subject, and we just.
It definitely is. We're both very white.
Yeah.
Your username is literally White Boy Fresh.
Let's move on from that.
Yeah. Point is, he's a piece of shit. I'm not defending him. I just want to make that clear. Kind of sound like I was. I'm not. He's a piece of shit.
Okay. Moving on. I think now that we have hopefully full rosters. Moving into next season, I would assume no other change would be made. But I thought that after DudemanBro, then Mast got replaced. Yep. But you want to do a little power ranking real quick?
Yep. It's time for the power rankings. Power rankings.
Wow. Yeah. All right. I've been hyped for this. I've been waiting for so long.
Yeah, I have too.
And
So
really,
we're
the only
gonna start at
change.
the top and go down.
I mean, we can start however you would like.
I
We
think
can
we
go
should start at the top and go down.
Okay. If I can make a suggestion, we go from carry to solo.
I thought we were doing full teams.
Oh, are we going teams or players?
I thought we were doing team power rankings. I think maybe player is a different episode.
We save players for a different time. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. That would take us forever arguing over that.
Yeah. We would be here for we were like that's gonna be the only topic is when we do player power rankings. That is gonna take multiple hours.
Yeah. Yeah, that can be the next episode kind of
yes.
thing. Okay. Coach. Not coaches. I don't know why I said coaches. Teams.
Yep. I think it's a very obvious number one.
Camelot Kings.
Camelot Kings.
Camelot Kings. They're running it back from last year. No one took a single game off of them in SWC last year. And especially every single team has changed. At least 2 players. I don't think a single team has the synergy to beat them. I know I watched a Captain Twig video that said Big Man Tings hasn't really been practicing a lot. Has been kind of laying by the pool, sipping his drinks, enjoying his
You waited to say that until after you went in the draft, you son of a bitch.
I mean, I really didn't, but that was also one of the reasons why I didn't want to pick him.
Yeah. For those who don't know, we have a Smite Fantasy League. I was gonna pick him in the first round. I ended up with the 8 pick, and he got sniped before I could get him. I'm kind of glad now.
Rightfully so. Yeah. Yep. I mean he's still good, man.
Yeah, he's still gonna be good.
I'm not worried. I think the Kings are gonna do their thing. Easy number 1, at least for the first phase. Like once we get to the end of phase 1, beginning of phase 2, we'll start to see the shift in it. You know.
Right. Because
we'll
get more used to playing with each other.
Team. Oh, I guess never mind. We have Yarkor. I take that back.
Yeah, it wasn't quite the same team from Phase 3, but they did play the World Championships together, and even still, it's the same other 4.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think they're easy number 1. We can both decide on that.
Yep. They're a team with very good fundamentals throughout their whole team. None of their players are flashy players necessarily, except for Yarkor, which makes him a perfect fit for the team, because that's what the team needed. Right? That's the thing that was keeping this team from being great. I don't know who they had carry before Yarkor, but I feel that was the thing they needed, was a carry who could make those plays at a high level, and that's what Yarkor does. Right?
Mm.
But
Ed Netrioid.
He's also very good.
I think he's good. He's not the type to take the one-on-ones. He's not the type
He's what the team already had 4 of.
Right.
They have the same player 5 times in each role with Netrioid. Yep. I do have some questions about this team, though. I will say. I still think they're going to be number 1 for sure. But, obviously, Genetic's best player in the league. Big Man Tings, you just brought up how he hasn't really been practicing. He's still probably going to be the best mid in the league. Mm-hmm. Yarkor last season, before he joined the Kings, basically for the World Championships, was not really doing that well on the Scarabs.
But you have to remember he was on the Scarabs.
Yeah, he was on the Scarabs. But we're looking at a very small sample size of him being very, very good.
Right.
We don't know how he's going to do in the regular season. I think he'll do well. But I think it's a question that's got to be asked. Yeah.
But even with the other core 4, if Yarkor plays poorly, and there's a point, Yarkor is one of the best players in the league at the moment. With the way that man knows Smite and plays Smite, the floor is only so low. It's pretty high. He can only play so bad. And I think the other 4 can make up for that.
I believe you're right.
If he was playing at his worst.
I believe you're right. It's just worth talking about. And then, you have Genetics Big Man Tings, who are also great.
Mhm.
Twig and Variety, while they're perfect fits to this team, they're kind of middle of the package in terms of the overall league.
I think I don't know if I'm missing something with variety because
It's
I
he's a perfect scheme fit for fundamentals. That's why the Kings kept
right.
him.
He's a good player. I've never looked and said, "Oh, variety is doing bad." But then 90% of the time I've never looked and been, "Oh, variety's popping off."
I mean,
You
that's
know?
all they need, especially out of their
Exactly. They
solo
need
later.
someone to just sit in there and stall it out and play good and let them do
Right.
the
The one
carry,
thing
you
I
know?
will say is that with Fine OK, a free agent, he can do all the stuff Variety does, and then he can make the big plays as well.
Yeah. I
That's
I
if they were going to make a change, it would have been in solo. They would have I could have seen them replacing Variety with Fino or Haddix.
Alex
They
even
didn't, and I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think they'll still be great. I think Variety
I,
is a very good player.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I yeah, I mean, and same with Twig. He's not.
Yeah. He's a
I
perfect
think
scheme fit.
you're only. I don't even know if you could consider anyone an upgrade. Um, because he's just a different play
Right.
style.
Right.
He fits what they try to do, and I think their coach Biggie works or he knows what each of his players do, and he gets them to pick comps toward that and play toward that, and they do it flawlessly.
Yeah. There's not enough praise that can be heaped onto the Kings.
Yes.
It's just always worth asking questions about teams.
Yeah.
You got to consider the good
Not
and the bad.
right. Right. There's not a lot of bad comes to the
There is
Kings.
not.
So I think what would you consider? I have my list here
I don't
as a
have my
number
list
two pick.
written out, but I have it in my head. You want me
Okay.
to go first on this one?
Tell me what your number two
All right.
pick is
I,
because
I
I
will
think
go first
after
on this one. I want you to go first for three. That's all I got to
Kings are
say.
Kings are a clear number one, and I think the next three are debatable. And I think you can group them in three that are above the rest, but
All right.
below the Kings.
I have the Jade Dragons at number two.
Me as well.
Boat looked very good on a bad team, and he's going from Neilmah, who probably wasn't quite playing you an SPL level anymore, to the best support outside of genetics in the league and possibly in league history with PBM.
Yes. I mean, if I'm taking one support of all time in my
Yeah.
all-time team, I'm taking Polar over Mike.
Yeah.
You
I'm
know, who
taking
isn't?
PBM the year he won the ship, and if it's a playoff game, not any of the other years.
I mean, yeah, the dude's good. He's played consistent. He's played well for his entire career. I don't think that's going to change. I don't think he's going to fall off because he's getting old or whatever because he's played for so long. He's going to be good. He's going to play the game the way he wants to play it.
And then
And I
he'll
mean,
miss five Malults in the playoffs.
he makes he creates metas. I don't know if you
He
remember
does.
last year, there was the support was going and soloing the purple buff before the duo lane could get to their purple buff. They were soloing the enemy purple buff.
Right.
And that all started from PBM.
Yeah. And then in the SPL, what they would do is they'd go stare at each other and be like, "I want to go steal your purple," and they'd be like, "No, I want to go steal your purple."
Yeah.
And then they'd be like, "How about we just go both do our own purples?" And they'd be like, "Okay, fine,
Big
fine."
deal. The only reason that ever started is because for one set he decided I'm gonna take their purple buff every single time. And they're like, okay, we need to send someone to stop them, which they send their support. And so the supports end up, jerking each other off for
Yeah.
a while.
Nobody ever got
And
green buff.
that became the meta for the rest of the season.
They were doing it
Until
in the World Championships.
in the world, yeah. In SWC. So I think he's great for them. He's definitely something they needed
He was the
in
heart and
support.
soul of the J Dragons, and it's awesome he got to keep the name with the team
Yes,
entirely
I'm
splitting up.
definitely very happy about that. Um Also, I don't know what to think about Dardes because when he plays well, he plays well. He was playing well on a bad team at some points, and so it's like if he has a good team, is he going to play well often? I don't know. He has
I
some
would think
meta-defining
so, but
picks. I hope so. I like to look at that as a. He's definitely, I would call him a top half. If he plays, if their team plays like I'm expecting him to, a top mid.
right. I have him as the 4th mid. He could easily be higher than that, though.
See, I have him ranked 5th, but it's all team playing depending.
Right.
The
It's a
player
team game.
I'm most excited about on this team is their jungle.
Lads, bro. Got him in fantasy, baby!
I know. He picked him up 2nd round. That was a good snack.
Got
But man,
Fino and
I think
Lads, bro. I'm very happy with my team right now.
definitely one of the top ones for sure.
Yep.
But Kuvo Fred last year, I don't think he played very consistent. He could dominate games, but oftentimes it was like he wasn't even playing the game. And so Lasbra, when the Olympus Bolts, gosh, I had to remember that team name.
Because they're
I'm not
gone!
even a team anymore. When the Olympus Bolts went on their streak and they were the best team in the league for an entire phase, Lasbra was carrying them. I mean, obviously the rest of the team was doing good. But Lasbra was putting show out performances every single game. And he was easily the top jungler in the league at that point. And so I think if we can get that more consistently.
If there's anybody who can draw that out of him, it's going to be playing with PBM and Vote.
Yeah,
And
PBM is a
Dardes.
much more aggressive support. And I think it's going to help him a lot. I think he's going to do very well this season. He normally, I've seen him do better on tankier picks. The Osiris, the Erlang. But I think he can play this. I'm excited to see what he's going to do this season.
And then there's the team's weak point in Nika.
I don't even think you could say that because I think he's a top solo laner. I don't think there's really a distinct.
It's not a big weakness. It is. I think he's the worst player on the team, though.
Really?
Yeah, it's not like a glaring hole. Yeah. I think Nika is the worst solo on a top 6 team.
Hot take. Yeah, but I
don't know if it's that hot. There's a lot of good solos.
There were games last year where I was watching the Warriors and I was like, wow. If Nika had a good team, this man could do some crazy things.
I guess it is true that he wasn't on the best team.
It's like, sometimes I'm playing some casual games. I don't know, casual and SPL totally different. But it's like our team is getting shit on. I'm not necessarily doing the best, but I'm doing everything I can to get my stats up. I'm playing for my stats because I know I'm taking an L this game.
Right.
And I want to at least look like I did the most on my team, so other people can look at the game and say, "Wow, I feel sorry for you because you did the best you could."
Right.
But and maybe that's the kind of stats he was pulling. But I think he does have, very good mechanic. My thing with the solo laners is there's a top 6, clearly, and I think you could easily interchange all of those 6 at any time in the year, depending on how
I think there's a top 2, and then there's a middle 4, and then there's a bottom 2. And I think I think you can pick any of the middle 4, and he's in that middle 4.
That's fair. I can see. I
have him as the worst. Yeah.
Okay, I can see that.
I have Haddix because of how much you love Haddix. There have been times you've told me that Haddix is better than Fino.
There's times where he has been. I don't love Haddix. I'm personally don't care for Haddix. But I do think he's good. I think he's one of the players that can play well on his own, and so I think he's gonna do well on the Ravens. But that's
we'll get there.
Yeah. Anyway, Yeah, I think the Dragons look good. Definitely look like I actually had them tied with the number 3 team
You can't do that. You gotta pick one.
in points. Well, this is the one I put above them, clearly, like for sure. I think they're going to be better if it comes down to it. The number 3 team. You tell me what you got.
I
I got
want
mine.
you to go first for number 3.
Number 3 team. I'm giving the Leviathans
That's fair.
to a very, very close number 4. I have 1 point away between number 3 and number 4.
I can see that. They're a good team
But
for sure.
um,
They have a lot of very good team fighters. They got
yes,
Zapman, who's a team fight focused guy. Fido, does so much in team fights.
Zapman's a play for late. Ronnie is a top. Hello? Okay, there it goes. Ronnie's a top support. Shinto, he's a play for late kind of guy. I think that's the biggest problem with their team is their team besides Final K is really just a play for late. And Final K was on the Dragons last year where their kind of game plan was to run it down.
Right.
Early and often, control the early game. So I'm excited to see how he plays into this.
Right. The difference is though, is they were a play like a run it down who could still win late game. This is a win late game that is worse than in my opinion, a lot of the other teams in the early game. You know what I mean? Hello? I've lost John.
Sorry.
There he is.
Sorry. Okay, my mic headset died for a second there.
Happens to the best of us.
Yeah, we need to be a little more prepared next time. But yeah, I think you're right. The Dragons could win late, and so I think it's not going to be as big of a shocker to them. But their one person that held the Leviathans in late last season was Panatom. He's gone. Yeah.
Yep.
Or early. Did I say early or late there?
You said late. I know what you mean.
Okay.
They got them to late.
Yeah, Panatom was their bridge.
Yeah.
The dude had no farm.
Right. The way they ran it was Shinto got like all the farm, and then Panatom just did awesome shit.
Popped off.
Yeah.
So, I'm interested to see how the dynamic works with adapting now, because I think he'll be more than willing to.
One of the best Smite players of all time, if not the best in the past.
Right, for sure. But I'm also excited to see how Panatom does, with farm this season.
Right.
He could carry every single game. Who knows?
Right.
But yeah, I think this is a very late game. If the Kings, they're the most late game team fight team in the league. I think the Kings are second. The Kings are more objective based. They're more going to pull an objective and try not to fight you.
Right.
And just get ahead. Then the Leviathans are wait. If you're going to take a Gold Fury at 10 minutes and it might cost them a couple deaths, they're not going to contest that if they're not sure about it. But who knows? They could, their entire everything could change with Final K and adapting. So I'm definitely excited to see what they look like.
Right.
So were the Leviathans who you had being third?
Well, here's the thing, right? Is that this is a podcast, and podcasts are supposed to be entertaining, right?
Of course, this is exactly like you. I want everyone to know.
If I just chose like it's gonna be this, we just said the same stuff.
Right.
It wouldn't be entertaining. That's why Skip Bayless has a job. He only has terrible takes, and he gets paid billions of dollars or whatever the fuck. Right. That being said, I have the Oni Warriors at third. I have the Oni Warriors as the third best team in the league.
I wish I wish we had cameras because you would have seen my jaw hit the floor. The hinges hurt on my
Now,
jaw right now.
okay, here's the thing: is I understand why you're doing that because for every team, right, everybody's hyping them up and talking about their strength, except for the Warriors. Motherfuckers only be out here talking about the Warriors' weaknesses. Oh, we don't know how Pagon's gonna do not being on a good team. Oh, Awesome Jake's not that great of a support, right? Motherfucker, they're the only team in the league with top 3 people in all of their damage positions. No other team in the league has that. Give me another team in the league that has that. Fucking you can't, because it's none of them. Pagon's a top 3 mage, Neshri is a top 3 carry, Phantom's a top 3 jungle. They're the only team with that. And with how weak tanking is right now, damage rolls are more important than ever. So they're the only team with top 3 in all of the damage rolls in a meta where that matters most. I
Wow.
understand Awesome Jake isn't the best support in the league, right? He's probably closer to the bottom. I understand that. Solo or Troll is in that middle of the pack of solos. You know, he's in that middle 4. Probably in the bottom half of that middle 4. But you could argue he's 4th, you know.
Right.
And I think that's really going to help him a lot.
I really like your take on that. That damages are just the most important right now. I really think so. You know, whenever we were watching the playing games, every time watching the Hounds, every time Vapor's Coast died, the push stopped. I mean, they could have 2 people down on the other team, but once Vapor's Coast died, the Hounds were done pushing.
Right.
You know, if the other team had their damages. And so, I mean, I think, I don't know about top 3. Netrid is top half for sure. For sure. Top half carry.
I think
Awesome
he's 3rd.
Jake. Awesome Jake, I think he's not the worst. I think he's bottom of the top half.
Right.
Or the top couple.
Yeah.
You know,
He's
Pagon
5th probably.
Yeah, Pagon you could call a top 3. He's in a top half. You know, he's really good.
Here's
Phantom,
the thing. Here's my
so
other
good.
point, right? People are saying Pagon's not going to do that good because he's not on the Dragons anymore, right? People are saying that because he was on a good team last year, that's the reason he's not going to be good anymore. And to a certain extent, I understand their point, right?
Yeah, right.
But I still think this is a very good team. Obviously, I have him 3rd.
For sure.
But also, like, people are talking about this like he wasn't like he put up like the best stats in phase 3 last year, you know what I mean? We're not talking about Pagon coming into phase 1 of last year. It is very clear by being on the Dragons, he has developed so much. I think you can honestly argue that he's going to be the number 2 mid. I think it's going to be Big Man Tings and then him. I think you can make that argument.
I think you could. I think there were many points in last year where he was the best mid laner in the league. And it was undisputed. You couldn't, if you said anything else, you were trolling, you know? He was the best mid laner in the league. And I think that's what this is one team, I promise you, I will never miss an Oni Warriors game, phase 1. Because this is the scrappiest team. Their right 3, Pagon, Phantom, and Solo Troll, are just, they get at it, they look for 1v1s, they look for kills early and often. And I think this is going to be what last year's and in the past Jade Dragons was and Rival was beforehand.
Right.
I think is what the Oni Warriors are going to be now, because they're going to be early game. They're going to be looking for kills. The games are going to be so fun to watch. I'm sure.
Right.
Jake does stupid stuff all the time, and when it works, he looks like a genius.
Right. He's like
a mastermind.
He's like what we were just talking about with PBM, but like with less brain cells.
Yeah,
exactly. He's an aggressive support, but sometimes he doesn't think what he's about to do all the way through. And PBM does.
Here's my contrary to that. Is I've been watching a lot of Venenu recently, and he's been talking about this stuff, and he says Jake doesn't communicate. He says you'll look up from the map and you'll see him at the enemy's yellow buff, and he like you would have no idea, and you're like, what are you doing there? Why are you there? And he's like, oh, I'm dying. and then the whole team that like you come in to try to help him, and then you pick off the rest of your team.
Right.
And so if he can work on the communication with this team, because that's another thing, where are their shot callers at?
Right. That is the biggest problem in this team, for sure. But I mean, in part, that's what a coach is for.
Yeah.
And
I mean, you can't
I
talk to
know.
the coach in game.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But like, they got some experienced players. You know what I mean? Panatom, I'm sure could call the shots. Even if
Yep,
that wasn't what he was doing before, I'm sure he could.
I think it's gonna come down. I don't know how well. Also, maybe not. Maybe I'll pass on that. But yeah, I think solo or troll could be Panatom definitely. If Pagon is comfortable in that, yeah, it's something this is definitely the team I'm most excited to watch.
All right.
For
I'm very glad you're starting to seemingly come around to why I think this team is so good.
No, I think I haven't thought that, but it's the big question mark that you're saying. Everyone's always talking about the bad parts.
Right.
And I see that, and I think it's silly to
Right.
dismiss that.
Right. And it's not even just that they're only talking about the bad parts for the Warriors. It feels like there's so few people talking about the bad parts for the other teams. I haven't seen
Right.
anybody else but me or you. And I mean, I'm not on Smite Twitter, so I'm not going to say nobody else has had this take I'm about to say. I
Right.
haven't seen anybody else talk about how the Ravens clearly have the worst duo lane in the league. Like, we'll get there, but like nobody's talked about that.
Oh no.
They're just like, oh,
Everyone
look,
knows.
Haddock, Scream, Beninu. What a good trio. And nobody's talking about
No,
Barracuda and Irwin being a bad duo lane.
I'm pretty sure everyone is aware that that's
I know people are aware, but I feel like it's not getting emphasized as much as the weaknesses on the Warriors are being emphasized. You know what I mean?
right. Well, it's because the Warriors all have top caliber players. This isn't a team, normally teams who have all 5 new people who haven't played together and are all playing together the first time would be considered, you'd be considered the Scarabs last year.
Right.
It would be the Scarabs. But this team, no one's putting in that low of a rank.
Right.
And for good reason, because these are all very skilled
Right.
players who have the same play style. I think are going to play pretty well together.
Right. The biggest problem is I feel like Netroid is going to be able to play pretty safe. I feel like Pagon's going to be pretty safe, like be able to play pretty safe. I think Panatom can probably keep himself out of danger as well. So I feel like Awesome Jake doing something stupid and getting himself killed isn't going to be as big of a deal as it would be on some other teams, as it will, as on this team.
And
They have a lot of people who are going to be smart and keep themselves from getting killed in stupid ways.
here's my thoughts. You have me thinking about that. I think Panatom will be able to mirror. I don't know if that's the right word. He'll be able to mirror Awesome Jake's movement.
Right.
If Awesome Jake is at their yellow buff, guess who's right there with him at that moment? Panatom.
Right. Right.
And they're gonna catch people off guard, and they're gonna make people make mistakes. And I think they could take advantage of that.
Right. And there's also a part of me that wonders. I don't know what all teams Awesome Jake has been on in the past. This may end up being his. Has he won a championship before?
No.
This might end up. Go
He's
ahead.
teamed with Barracuda and Venenu, and I'm pretty sure those are the only 2 that he's teamed with every single year.
Right. I think he Awesome Jake. Like if this team gets off to a hard start, Awesome Jake might look at the team and say, "This might be my best chance to win a championship," and he might be able to dial in and stop making some of these big mistakes that he's known for making. He might start to communicate more. He might stop just showing up at the enemy's yellow buff for no reason. He might
Maybe,
start
yeah.
playing smarter and dial in because he's like, if we play well, this team could be my best chance to win a championship.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah, I can't wait. I think their big glaring only problems, where's their shot caller? Where's their experience?
I mean, they have decent
Um,
experience. They just don't have experience together. Awesome Jake's been around for a long time. I don't know how
there's
long Phantom's been
Awesome Jake's
around.
been around for 3 years.
I'm gonna be
Tom's
honest.
been
I thought
around
it was
for
longer than that.
no. Tom's been around for 3 or 4, but I think 3 in the SPL. Pagon, this is his second year. Netrioid has been around for maybe 3 years. Solar Troll, maybe 3 or 4, maybe. I'm trying to remember, but yeah, these guys aren't. They all came into the league around the same time,
Right.
and they're all pretty new. I mean, new in retrospect. Like Zapman's been here for 17 years.
Right.
Genetics is a rookie this
Right.
year.
Let's see. Solar Troll started in season 6. Panatom started season 6 as well. Who is this? Pagon.
Pagon was
Yeah,
season
he
1.
obviously started last year. It just like wasn't showing his stats and it confused me. I knew when he started. Okay, yeah, Awesome Jake was season. I just assumed Awesome Jake had been around since like season 3 or 4. I'm not gonna lie.
No,
He just seems
well,
like a guy who would like randomly have been in the league forever, even though he was like never the best player. Yeah,
he was one
and
of those
Netroid
guys
was a
who
season
like
6 guy as well.
they yanked right out of ranked.
Right.
But yeah. So I think that leaves us with my number 4. I'm hoping this is your number 5 then. With the Styx Ferryman.
Alrighty. We'll see. I haven't set my number 4 yet, so who knows?
Wait,
Who
I
knows
thought
what crazy stuff
I
I'm gonna
had
do?
Kings, Dragons, Leviathans.
Warriors was
And
my
then you
3.
really.
Yes.
So who's your 4?
Well, are you doing your 4 first, or do you want me to go for
I
my 4 first?
I mean, I've already talked about my 1. I've talked about the Kings, the Dragons, the Leviathans, and the Warriors. The Warriors are my 5. So unless you have a different team in there in your top 5,
I do not. I
okay,
have
then
Warriors 3, and then I have the Leviathans 4. I wanted to save some of my negatives on the Leviathans until it was my turn to talk about them
okay.
because I wanted because it was like, oh, big shock, I don't have them at third, that sort of deal, and then I
So
talk about why I don't think they're third. So we talked about the positives from earlier, and I think they have some very clear positives. I want to talk about their negatives. We have no
yeah,
idea how fucking good Adapting's going to be.
right.
We don't know. He could be by far the worst jungle in the league. He could be by far the best jungle in the league. We don't know right now. He hasn't played in like 3 years at the SPL level.
Well, I think looking at the SWC from last year, he was on the Ravens, and they played against the Kings first round, first game, or first set. I think he looked better than he looked good. He looked really good for playing with that kind of team, an SCC team, against the number 1 team in the SPL, who never lost an entire game the rest of the tournament, and they almost beat them. There were points where they were. I won't say almost beat them, but there were definitely points where they were well ahead in both games.
Right.
I'm not. That's the only reason why I'm not like, oh, what's gonna happen with. I'm more worried about someone like Oath than I am Adapting.
Right. I can understand that. But the thing is, we just, we don't know for sure how good he's going to be.
Right.
And that's a big question mark, you know what I mean? Some people are talking about this team like it's a super team, with Fino, Adapting, and Wrongyu, and Zapman, all these stars. But, I mean, Zapman's not the best carry. He's pretty good. He's not the best carry. We don't know how good Adapting's going to be. He could very easily be middle of the pack or worse. We don't know.
I don't think he's going to be a top tier because he's been gone for a while.
Yeah.
But I don't think I think there is no chance that he will be a bottom tier. I don't think that's in the question.
I mean, that's fair. But we don't know. You know what I mean?
Don't know. And, I mean, you can say that about any character, though.
Right.
Any
No, I
player.
mean, for sure. But as we said earlier, I know he played well in the 3 games or 2 games or whatever he had against an SPL team. but it's been 2 games.
Right.
We don't know. And
You're right.
Shinto is used to getting spoon-fed farm out of his ass by Panatong.
Mhm.
Like, he's used to getting so much farm. Is adapting going to give him that? If adapting does give him
Adapting
that,
does have the same play style, though.
okay, if that's the case, is adapting going to be able to keep up, you know what I mean, at a level he used to when he was in his prime?
Yeah. It's something, again, this is another one of the teams I'm excited to watch.
Right.
Because,
I look at this
you got to...
team, and I'm not sure if outside of Final K, they have any top 3 guys. Wrong you.
Shinto?
I mean, maybe. He's
I think
probably
you're
there. He's
crazy for not
probably
putting
there.
Shinto top 3. I can understand.
I mean,
not
regular
having
season,
Ronnie.
probably.
I can understand not having Ronnie. I think Zapman, if you're putting Zapman in top 3, you're insane.
Yeah, I think he's 4.
Ronnie is a questionable top 3. I personally have Genetics, Roar, and PPM above him, just because of
That's my
recency
list as
bias.
well.
I think they all recently played much better than him. I don't know where to put adapting. I think Fino's a top 3 and Shinto's top 3.
Yeah, if we're only looking at regular season, which is what we're talking about right now, I think that's fair. But if you're looking at like overall, I still put Paul in that top 3. And
Paul's in my top 3.
Is he? You don't have Pagon in your top 3.
You also have Pagon in top 3.
Right.
I don't.
I put Pagon over Shinto.
That's crazy to me. It's different play styles,
I mean, yeah, that is true, right? And if adapting is the type of jungle to give his mid a lot of farm, then I think he'll probably be fine. I didn't watch when adapting is around. I don't know how adapting plays.
He played with Yaman, was his mid laner, and Yaman was... I saw a spreadsheet. This guy had come up with calculations for points, almost like this point system that we have for the Fantasy League. And he ran the numbers every game, every season, trying to find the mathematically number 1 player of all time. And by the end of season 8, I think, Yaman, who hasn't played in years, was still the number 1 player of all time. And I mean, part of that, and I mean, adapting was up there as well. But part of that, he played with a very good mid laner, a mid laner who could carry. Same with Shinto, Yaman was a mid laner who could carry. Who played these like late game hyper carry picks. And adapting let him get to that point. Adapting plays for late game. And I think it fits in very well here.
Yeah?
That's
fair. I do have one more question about this team, though. It's a similar question we had to the Warriors, but almost inverse in a way,
Okay.
Who's their shot caller? They have 5 shot callers on this team. Anybody on this team could be a shot caller. I genuinely believe that. Are you going to have the guy who hasn't been in the SPL for 3 years be the shot caller? You know what I mean?
I think that's a really good question. What team was it last year? It was the Kings. They had too many shot callers on their team whenever they picked up Yarkor. And I mean, obviously it worked out. Like, they won Worlds.
Right.
But they were saying it was hard. There were some instances in the first couple games where no one had any idea what to do because there were 5 people yelling 5 different things at the same time.
That's my point. We're not rating. We're not power ranking right now based on what they're going to do in phase 2. This team's going to take a little while to figure that out. You know what I mean? But like, I have the Warriors Leviathans incredibly close. Just to be clear.
Raw skill.
Oh, for sure. It's a very skilled team. There's a lot of very skilled teams in the SPL. You have to be very skilled to get to the SPL.
For sure. I mean, this is just another team I'm excited to watch.
Oh, for sure. I understand it probably seems crazy to everybody I have him at 4. It feels crazy to me putting a team with Fine OK at 4, but that's what I feel in my heart. And you had Ferryman at 4, correct?
Yes.
Yeah,
My
okay.
Ferryman
That is
that
my
your
5.
4?
That is my 5.
That's your 5. Okay. I think this team has been criminally underrated by many players, at least from what I've seen. This is a team with Cyclone Spin. He's been around for forever. Dude's as old as dirt. Another shot caller, a very, very good. He's kind of almost a jack of all trades, he's not super huge early, like he's not going to throw your early game like Zapman will, but he's not going to throw your late game either.
Right.
He knows what he's doing in all phases of the game. Very seasoned player. I think he's really good. Aurora, last season, in the regular season in Phase 3, looked decent. Throughout the rest of the year, looked okay. But when SWC came around, I mean, number 2, right behind genetics. Like breathing down his neck type of thing.
Right.
I don't know if I'd say that close, but he was. People, like, teams were banning purely Aurora out for their top 3 bans. And that makes it a player like that, paired with a player like Paul, who is also drawing out multiple bans per game, is not, because who do you ban?
Right.
You give one person who's going to carry a ban or their pick, or you give the other person who's going to carry their pick. And so, I mean, Paul, like, what do you have to talk about with Paul? Nothing. It's Paul.
Yeah.
Dude's good.
Yep.
He can play some Smite.
Wasn't there like a huge stretch where he was playing a bunch of Hell, and if he got Hell, his team won, and if he didn't get Hell, it's because he was banned. He just always picked Hell the rest of the time.
Yeah, I think that was at the end of season 8.
I was watching the other Frost video about it recently.
Yeah, the Dragons ended up losing season 8 SWC to Paul and the Titans.
And season 7, right?
They lost
before
season
they
six,
became
7.
the Titans.
They've lost season the past Dragons lost season 6, 7, 8, and 9 to Paul in the playoffs in SWC.
No, they didn't lose 8.
crazy.
They didn't lose 8 to Paul because they lost to Scarabs.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, but they lost 9, 6, and 7. 6 and 7 were in the finals.
6, 7, 9. And then the Scarabs got beat by
to think he almost joined them after going into season 8.
Going into season 8, I think Paul was going to there was rumor of Paul joining the Dragons.
That would have been crazy.
Man, no, I would have liked to see it, but we're big Dragons fans. Yeah, so I mean he's good. My only problem with him, he's a tournament player.
Yep.
You know,
Playoff Paul. First name playoff, last name Paul.
Particularly well throughout the regular season. I mean, he never looks bad ever.
Right.
You're never watching Paul and saying this guy's playing bad. But whenever you watch him in the playoffs, you're watching.
Regular season Paul is trying to not lose. Postseason Paul is trying to win.
Yes. Yeah. You're watching an artist paint his masterpiece, pretty much, in the playoffs. So.
Yeah, that's not what we're selecting, though.
Right. As a team, also, Sino, my biggest take, my biggest concern for this team is Sino. The dude played crazy SWC. But that was, they had layers as their jungle. All of season 9. And they played with Sino for 2 games throughout the regular season. And then it was SWC. And he played very well in SWC. Is this going to be a tournament team? I'm highly in tournament, but you don't pick them very high throughout the regular season, like mid-pack.
Right.
I don't know. I would like to
Yeah.
see them do well,
I
especially
think
they
they
have
have their two best players are tournament players. I think Aurora's a bit of a tournament player, and Paul's very much a tournament player.
Yeah, and I mean it plays in so far what I've seen from Sino. You know, you didn't start watching until what, last year, SPL?
I watched a little bit season 8.
Okay, I finished season 7. I started playing Smite at the end of SWC season 7, and so I really never got to see Sino. I've been watching, I've been going back and watching games, and I mean he was the guy. They won season 5, I believe. He was world champion season 5, but again, could be a tournament player. We'll see. Same with Baskin, played very well in SWC. He honestly was very solid throughout. I think he's my number 3 solo laner. And I think he could be considered higher. I think he could be considered higher.
Let me think about this. I think I have
But
Variety 3. I have
Variety is my
Solo or
4.
Troll 4, and then I have him 5.
Well, yeah, I think this is just, it's a veteran team. You have your people who are shot callers, your people who I think they're going to synergize very well. I think they have some huge potential. If they play like every game like it's in a tournament, they're
Yeah.
going to win every game.
Yeah.
But I don't think every player, they don't have a single top player in their role. Arguably.
Yeah.
And so that's why
I
I'm
mean,
putting them
most
where
teams
they're at.
don't.
Right.
Kings kind of have a monopoly on that, arguably.
Kings definitely took that over, but yeah, I don't think they have a top player. I think they lose some 1v1s in their roles, but I think overall once they come together for team fights, it's going to be a big team.
Yep.
That's my take.
One thing you have not mentioned, and it's because you don't believe in it as much as I do. Cyclone Spin played 10 games in Phase 3 before being replaced. He was shitty ass. He went 16 and 26 in 10 games.
Yeah, definitely not the best, but I mean the rest of the season, man, he did fine, and they honestly started out really bad, but that was when they were having problems with layers as well.
Right.
So that's kind of the thing. How good can a player be on his own without the rest of their team?
Yeah.
So I hate talking about this guy right now, but I'm just waiting.
Yeah. I know why. I won't rub it in.
I'm waiting to see how they play in Phase 1. Because you remember going into, I don't know, I know me and Reed were big onto this. Going into Season 8, the Titans team with Paul and Aurora and Cyclone Spin, and they had Scary D in jungle, and what's his name? NG solo. Well, I was like, that's going to be the best team. They're not dropping a game. And then they lost every single game for the first half of Phase 1.
Which team was it?
It was the Titans once they got their brandings.
Right. Oh, yeah, and then they were terrible. Benji had regressed.
Yeah, they were ass for a while. Scary D played awful. Their duo lane played awful, but yeah. So I don't know. It's one of the things we'll see when we get there. There's no certainties going into this.
Yep. Honestly, straight up, positions 2 for 5 are pretty much the same quality team, and you're ranking them based on how confident you are that they're actually going to play up to that, and that they're not going to let their problems overcome them. For me, I'm the
See,
most confident in the Warriors, or I'm the
I'm
most confident in the
thinking
Dragons, and then the Warriors.
positions 2 through 3 are interchangeable, and then I have 4 and 5 interchangeable as well,
Right, that's fair.
which would be the Warriors and
If I
you
had
you you have to know what number.
if I had not lost my damn mind, I would be agreeing with you. But I put the
Or
Warriors
not.
at third, so I can't say that.
I 2 through 4 are interchangeable,
Right.
and then 4 and 5 are interchangeable. Or wait,
5 and 6.
5 and 6. Sorry, I kept messing that up.
I I disagree. I like the Warriors a lot.
I understand, but I think that just has the biggest question mark for me. But do you know who my number 6 is? You should.
Yeah, it should be pretty
Because it should be
obvious.
your number 6,
Yep,
which is
Ravens. Although, real quick, I just want to say about the Ferryman. Why the fuck aren't they called the Titans? They're just the
yeah,
Titans.
that should have been the Titans.
Besides
I
the
think
Kings, they're the most the same team, and they had a name change. Doesn't make any sense.
I think they messed that team. They messed that up by letting them switch. Because now all the people who bought Titans jerseys are like, what the hell? This is my same team. We have a different solo laner, you know,
Right.
and I have to buy a new jersey now. Are you kidding me?
Right.
That's crazy to me. I'm surprised they ever let that one happen.
Right.
But
Anyways,
see, you could
the
argue the same with the Bolts or the Ravens.
yep, the worst duo lane in the league, as I
For
call
sure.
them.
I think Kerwin has not proven anything. I mean, he hasn't done anything. He switched to support, played SEC, got brought up on the Scarabs, which is just like the get
SCC
pounded
plus.
team of last year, and now is brought to this team, who is combined with the worst carry from last year.
One of them, for sure.
I mean, I don't know. At times, I remember seeing a couple games Barracuda carried 2 or 3 at most. But it's almost like if you're watching a Barracuda lane, you might as well not even watch it, you know?
Yeah.
Nothing's happening. And I
Yeah.
think with Whirlwind in that, if you have a questionable support, I would like to pair him with someone more established.
Right. They have a bottom 3 carry and a bottom 3 support, for sure. I might say
Yeah.
Herwin's bottom 1 support, frankly.
And I think you wouldn't be wrong to say either of these guys are bottom 1.
Yeah.
I don't personally don't have them there, but I don't think
Could you have bottom 1 at carry?
Barracuda. So
Okay,
I do.
but you don't have
that.
Herwin there.
I don't have both of them there.
Right.
Yes. I think Bobby is.
So you have Stuart at 7.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out your tier list since, because I've seen it, but I haven't seen it since Stuart
I've
came in for
changed it
DudemanBro.
a slight
Oh,
hint since the new players came.
right.
So, but yeah, I don't know.
And
It's
it's one of those things where I don't understand why Haddix is on this team. Like, I don't know,
why
like,
come back?
relationships. Is it a friendship thing? Is he friends with, like, these guys?
Really not. If me and you are on an SPL team, and right before Worlds, you tell me that you're going to a different team because you have a better chance of winning. I mean that's hurting our relationship.
Right.
It's not gonna be. I promise you, if you try to come back, if you do come back, it's not gonna be the same.
Right.
And so I think that
It's,
surprises me a lot as well.
so, wait, what happened?
So Haddix was on the Bolts. You know, it was Barracuda, Jake, Anenu, Lasbra, Haddix. And then Haddix was like, I think I have a better. The Bolts played very. I think it was phase 2. They're the best team in the league. Number 1 team. Got to the tournament and just blew it. And so going into phase 3, about midway through, is like, I think I have a better chance of winning this on the Leviathans.
He would have been
And
right.
so, yeah, and so he went to the Leviathans, and that was when Yarkor had their big dispute. Was it? Am I wrong here? Right, that was Yarkor and Solo. I can't remember at this point, but so basically he left. Anyways, that doesn't matter. Haddix left. Okay, and then they had to pick up Baskin out of the depths of nowhere. He wasn't even playing SEC. And then they let him come back in the off season. Because I'm guessing the Leviathans picked up Fino. Which is, I mean, who are you taking? Haddix, Fino? I'm taking Fino.
Fino, right.
And the ferryman with a seasoned roster, I would assume, are able to snag Baskin. And so they're left with nothing. Haddix is left with nowhere to go. And the Ravens are left with no one, and I think it just happened to fall into place.
Yeah. That probably makes the most sense. But like, if I'm the Warriors, I want Haddix over Solo Troll. If I'm the New Dragons, I want Haddix over what's that dude's name? Nika. If I'm the ferryman, I'd rather have Haddix. You know what I mean?
Vote, Dardes, and Nika are a core 3. They have been for years.
Right.
I don't think having slightly more talent, because I don't even think the talent differential is high at all between those two. A very close gap. Same with Solar Troll. I don't think that's a high differential. And I know Solar Troll, Pagon, and Awesome Jake are all very good friends.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
it's just one of those
I understand
things that's how it worked out.
Right. I mean, to a certain extent, I get what you're saying, where it's like, if I left to go win a ship, you wouldn't quite be able to forgive me. If it happened the other way, I'd be like, go get your shit, man. But like, it's probably not quite the same because the Bolts were actually pretty good, right? But if we were on like the worst team in the SPL, and you were like, hey, the Kings, like Twig just broke his arm in a car accident. The Kings need a jungle. I'd be like, go get your shit, man. Like, I wouldn't blame you at all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, especially for a situation with the Warriors where it's like they're all 3 friends, but they're not even on a team together yet, right? And Haddix is available. I'm saying, look, sorry, SOT, I know we're good friends. It's Haddix. You know what I mean?
I just don't know if the skill differential is that big in that role.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe it's not big enough for that, and they'd rather go with somebody they know than somebody they're not sure about. But it's kind of crazy that probably the second best solo in the league is on this team with the worst duo lane in the league.
Here's the thing. I think this team is another big question mark because duo lane right now, or at least carry role, doesn't really matter. I'm gonna say I think it does matter. Like, don't get me wrong, it does matter.
Right. But they're all good.
It could very well be the least influential role in the entire game.
Right.
And so, you put that together and you put the question mark with Hurrywin, he could. I think he's better than Inbound. I love Inbound. He's one of my favorite supports, but he's not great. I think he has potential to play better than Awesome Jake if they can't, play around him.
Right.
Like that. And so I don't know. That's just something we're gonna see as time. Benenu, I think, is a very solid mid laner. He's never a top.
Never bottom.
Never, but he's never at the bottom either. He's always
a mid.
I was afraid of where that was going to go, but I'm fine with that. Yeah.
I was thinking about it, but I decided to go for the cheesy pun instead.
Thank you. But Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I've seen him carry games. I've seen him throw games. Whatever. Scream is a guy who I've seen carry many games.
Scream is like exponentially better the better a team he is on. I feel like. I mean, he can definitely carry games by himself as well. But like,
Yeah.
if you look at the jump in stats from when he was on the Scarabs to when he was on the Dragons, he died like half as much.
Yeah. And I think you could say that for, if you put Scream on the Gladiators right now, I think that would be the case. But if you put him on the Kings right now, he's popping off,
Right. He is a
And
guy
for
who goes and makes plays. If he was on the Kings, he'd be filling like the Yarkor role, right? Of the guy who like makes plays happen. And when honestly, I feel like he'd probably be better at it for them than Yarkor.
Right, because having someone to
Having a
want who
jungle do
can
that,
a jungle or a support, yeah,
right?
your jungle or your jungle number 2.
Yeah. Yeah. Scream is good. I'm wondering how he's gonna do on this team because it is probably the worst duo lane, even worse than the two play-in teams.
Yeah, I think I would agree. I think the worst carry. It's not that like nothing against
Yeah.
Barracuda. I
It's not a
love.
big gap. Carry's 8 deep. It's the only role that's 8 deep in my opinion.
See, I would argue against that.
You think there's another role that's 8 deep, or do you not think carry is 8 deep?
I don't think
What was that? You cut out a little bit.
I don't think carry's 8 deep. But
I think I do. I think all the carries are SPL level carries.
I mean, everyone is SPL level. Everything. I think clearly looking down, because we both have saved the Hounds and Gladiators for 7 and 8. We haven't talked about where they are, but I think carry is fine. I think I could say there's a top. It's a hazy top 3 carry. There's a mid 3, and then a bottom 2 for me for carry.
And you think the bottom two are Kuda and
Barracuda
Stuart?
and Stuart, yeah.
So I don't think
Yeah.
Stuart is.
And
I don't think there's a
don't think a lot
gap.
of people agree with me, but
I think you're right about the top three, but I don't think there's a gap between that middle three and that bottom two. Not a big one, anyways. If there is, it's a small gap.
Right.
Small enough gap they could
But
be
I mean,
considered in the same group.
something looking at like solos, I see a definite bottom 2. Looking at jungles or mid laners, for sure, there's a bottom 2. Looking at
Supports, there's a bottom three.
There's a bottom 3. And so it's like
That hunt or carries the only role I don't really feel like that.
Hmm.
Well, like for mid, it's like if you take either of the two mids on the play-in teams and put them above anybody else, you're crazy. I don't think you're crazy if you put Stuart at 6, or if you put Barracuda at 6, or even 5. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying when I'm saying it's 8 deep. I'm not saying all 8 players are the same skill level. I'm saying it's not a big gap.
Right.
Like in a lot of other positions.
I can see where it's coming from, but
right.
I disagree personally.
All right. Fair enough.
Okay. Speeding this up because we've been going on for a while now.
Yep.
I feel like
Almost hour and a half. I thought this was going to be an hour episode. This one's going to be longer than the last one.
No, I think we just finish up these power rankings and then call her.
But we promised the bonus update in the intro. We'll go over it quick. We won't like go super into detail.
Yeah. We'll do a quick little highlight. Okay. So we both have saved the bottom 2.
Yep. 2 playing teams.
We know. Yeah, we have the 2 playing teams, 7 and 8.
Becomes a lot harder, in my opinion, with Stuart.
Obviously, it's a very clear number 7 to me. And
I agree.
From the play-ins, it should be for you as well.
Yep, I agree, but it becomes a lot harder with Stuart. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's a little closer.
When Stuart got added instead of DudemanBro, I had to think about it for like 3 seconds instead of 0 seconds.
Right. I think so. Obviously, Hounds number 7.
Yes.
Okay. Vapor's Coast. I think I'm not even putting Vapor's Coast in the bottom two hunters.
You have made it very clear you think he could be great.
That man has potential running out of his nose, ears, and mouth.
You think he's going to be the next Panda Cat?
I think he could be. Put him on a good team right now. I feel like he could fill almost any carry position if you put him on that team.
Right.
I think
He 1v1'd
fill
Yarkor.
Right. The reason I'm putting him so low in my power rankings, which we'll find out later, I don't think he's a bottom two, but I don't think he's top, is because of his team and his team alone. I mean, there were fights where they would be 3v5 fights, and I mean, drawn out fights. It started out 5v5, so it's not like he's just getting picked or anything. But they end up full diving coast, and he gets killed, and it turns down to a 4v3, and the whole hounds have to back up because they're getting decimated without him.
Right.
And
He's
I'm
going to
not
be
saying
expected to carry at a level you can't really do in the SPL.
right. I don't think he's gonna necessarily carry games, like all the time. He's not gonna be their deciding factor every game. But the dude's he's legit. And I think over the past couple months he's proved that.
You have to look at the rest of their team, and you say,
I think
Benny Q wasn't great last year.
it's hard. It's hard because we just watch him play in the play-ins, but like I said before, it's a different animal. You know, it's a different dog. SPL compared to SEC in the play-ins.
God damn it, John. Different dog.
It's a different dog, man.
And they're the hounds.
Quig looked really good against those other teams. But you know, how is he gonna crack under pressure? Benny Q looked really good in play-ins going into season 9, but played like really bad in season 9. Oath has been someone they've been talking up for a while.
One thing I will say about Benny Q is that he, like, if you look at his ward stats, he just fucking didn't. He placed so few wards.
Let me find this. I saw a tweet about this today. Someone said that Benny Q, they asked him why they didn't ward. People were asking, you know, his teammates, like, Benny, you need to ward? He said, my smite sense is so good, I know when I'm about to get ganked.
Yeah. His death count says otherwise.
So it wasn't exactly that, but it was something along those lines. And yeah, clearly. I mean, he doesn't ward a lot, and he gets ganked and killed a lot for it. So
he's a fine mid laner if he just starts warding.
Right. I think the first half, literally half of last year, he was playing picks like Terra mid. So, you know, when he started at the end of phase 2, he started to play normal picks, and the Valkyries started to win. They beat the Kings at one point. And it was like, oh, you know, maybe if this guy plays normally, they could be good. Well, I think I can see that.
I definitely think he's pretty talented, but he is a little dumb. Not in terms of like his smite sense, but it's like, you know, if you're out here picking Terra mid SPL, if you're out here not warding,
you're asking for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm ready. Ducky. I think the solo role is the only one you could consider 8 deep. But I don't think it is. I think Scary D, I won't even say it, but I'll save it for our number 18, our surprise 8th ranked team. Yeah, I think Ducky could play good. It's another, put him on a good team. I think he's going to perform very well. He's going to perform like he's one of the top solo laners. But it's mostly about his team. I have not much to say about Oath. Oath, Quig, and Vaporish Coast, they have 3 rookies this year.
Right. And to balance that out, Ducky's been in the league since season 3. he's going to be the experience. He's probably going to be their shot caller, I would have to assume.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. They have
So,
3 rookies, and Benny was only in the league like last year.
Yeah. So very very fresh team, very new team.
Ducky's the veteran. How long's El
It's
Chuckles
just
been a coach for?
I don't know, but that man's a good coach.
Yeah,
He's a
that should help
two-time
him out
world
as well.
champion, back to back. I think he was a big reason why they looked so dominant in their games. What they dropped one game, all play-ins.
It was in the finals to the team everybody thought was going to be the best team in the works.
Right. So I think that his game knowledge will help bring them together. And I am definitely excited to see this team play.
This team has a real chance to not be in the bottom 2. I'm not saying it's a good chance, but they have a real chance.
Yeah. I think it
Like,
wouldn't be ridiculous to consider them a mid-tier team after they play for a while.
right.
Their ceiling could definitely be a top mid-tier team. I don't think they could be a top-tier team, but
Right. Yeah, I think I could see a world where they end up like 5th.
4. Yeah, 5,
I don't know if I
4,
quite
5.
see 4.
I see 4 ceiling. 4 is their ceiling for me.
I don't know if I could see 4. Because to see 4, I have to be wrong about the Warriors. The Ferrymen have to be a playoff only team, and they have to be better than the Ravens. I could see any of those things happening individually. I don't see all
I
of
can
them
see
happening
all of that
together.
happen. I can see them playing better than the Warriors. I can see the Warriors looking discombobulated at some point in time. I can see the Ferrymen being like, screw it, we're just playing the playoffs. Let's not show up for any of these games. And then I think there will be a point where they're a definite ahead of the Ravens. If the Ravens don't show up like people think they will.
Right. Oh, should be a fun season. And then there's also another team.
Believe it or not.
Yep.
I think definite 8 for everyone.
Yep. It was really nice of them to give disabled kid a chance to play with them.
Wow. Can you say that? I don't know.
Probably not.
But,
I might get canceled for that one. But
yeah, I really don't think you can.
I don't think any of them are actually disabled, so
No,
it's
no,
fine.
no.
I just feel like
yeah.
the team.
They are looking like the worst team for sure. Yeah. They barely scrape by on the hair of their cheeks to get into the SPL from the play-ins.
Why can't we just give the spot
honestly,
to Hex Mambo, man? That's all I'm gonna say. Why can't we just give the spot to Hex Mambo? They did? I didn't know that. I didn't hear about that.
We talked about that this week, but yeah. Hex Mambo's Johnny, at least Johnny, their jungler, who was their hard carry. I mean, hard carry in terms of kills.
Right.
The rest of their team was very good. He carried them through early. He was the
bridge. I still would want them in the league over these guys.
For sure. That I think it would make it more competitive. Miles more competitive. But yeah, I think with the change, like we talked about in the carry role earlier, makes it more competitive. Stuart, he's good. I don't think he's great. I think he's bottom half for sure. You could argue 5, 6, 7. I'm not gonna listen if you do though. Inbound, I love his personality. I love watching his videos. Don't think he's the best support. He chokes in times.
Yeah.
Which we saw this a couple weekends ago. Snoopy got soloed by Benny, who was considered the 7th best mid laner. I got soloed by him once or twice. I just think everyone in this team is probably the lowest in their roles, besides Stuart.
Yep, they have a real carry, that's for sure.
So I don't know
I think you can argue Kiermere Oath.
I think it's hard to. I think it's hard to versus the way they played. Kiermere liked to throw a lot around the Phoenixes.
Yeah.
And I think Oath played just a little more solid late game. And right now, every game is getting to about 30 minutes or higher. I mean, these are some late game games.
Right.
So.
I mean, they looked really good when the game went 60 minutes. Like they did in the play-ins.
That was also against another team that wasn't having a good late game.
Right.
So, yeah, that's...
the joke you did where you put DudemanBro at 16 out of 8, you could do a similar joke with ranking this team. And here's the thing, like, we're shitting on them. I pray to God they surprise us all and do well and actually look competitive.
Oh, for sure.
Because that makes the league way more fun to watch. I don't like watching teams just get shit on, which is what I think is going to happen.
Every team was competitive, but the state of this right now is impossible.
Yeah.
So, I hope they turn out, they mold well, but I think they're just going to be the Scarabs 2.0.
Yeah.
I mean, and really with Stuart, Inbound, Snoopy, and Scary D, is that's what this is. The Scarabs 2.0.
Right.
But hopefully they surprise
us.
Well,
one advantage they do have is they do have a lot of experience. You know what I mean?
Right. They have
Snoopy's been in the league a long time. Scary D's been in the league a long time.
I just think it's less skill.
Yeah.
Individual skill.
For sure. Experience is the type of thing that gets you wins you shouldn't have. You know what I mean? Like, I could see this team getting, like, random... Like, they might randomly, like, just upset, like, the Leviathans or something as their one win. You know what I mean? I think you cut out again. I think your mic died again.
Oh, for sure. No, I'm here.
Okay.
I totally agree with you on that one.
Yeah, their wins aren't going to be against other teams in the bottom half. Their 3 wins are going to be against top half teams for no reason, and it's not going to make any sense.
That was kind of how the Valkyries were last year. Like, they were pretty well the bottom team. They were getting wins against the Kings. They beat the Leviathans one time. It was like they're just pulling these random wins out of nowhere.
Right. If it is Gladiators versus Leviathans week 1, Leviathans are walking in that game all cocky, and the Gladiators are going to win it. That's my prediction. I don't know what the schedule is.
I mean, is there a schedule yet?
I don't think so. Not that I have seen.
No. Really not, right? Because is there a tournament to kick things off?
I think so.
Okay, let me look this up.
If there is one, it's not on the website. Because it still just has the standings for the tournament on the schedule page.
Season 1, Phase 1, format and details. Kickoff tournament starts March 24th.
Okay. Now, I really hope the Gladiators get 1 win this season, and it's the split, and it's against the Kings. How amazing would that be?
Wait, repeat that. Sorry, I was reading something important.
I really hope if the Gladiators only get 1 win this split, it's against the Kings.
That would be a nice one.
Yeah, and it's the Kings' only loss somehow.
I just read. There's starting with season 10, every game will have a 10-player POV streamed.
Oh yeah.
You can watch every single game from the POV of every single player.
At the same time, mind flood the fuck out of yourself. Have all 10 windows open.
I'm going to pull every single one up. I'm going to study them all at once. I'm going to be the best Smite player of all time. Huh. If the player doesn't have a Twitch channel of their own, we'll stream to a designated high-res channel.
Cool.
That is cool. I didn't know that.
That's a good way to allow the players to make extra money off of it as well. Because, I mean, they get paid a decent amount, but to do. They don't really get paid a
Yeah, I
ton to be
mean,
doing this full time. You got to practice a lot
the
for
only
this
problem I
sort of
don't
thing.
like, because I know last year when players would have COVID, they would let them stream their own POV, and there's just no audio. You can't have audio because you have to mute your comms. So it's kind of boring to watch.
Right.
This is what I've found.
Right. Well, what you do is you watch their POV and then have the main thing open. You can get the casting.
Right. Or maybe with the implementation of this, you'll have casting over it. Who knows?
Maybe.
But,
That's a good idea. I like that.
yeah, I think that's gonna be really cool. I loved watching Panda Cat posted his games from one set. And those are really, really fun to watch. It's weird how you look at it from their perspective and you're like, oh, I'm gonna go do this, and then they do something else. And you're like, why did you just do that?
Yeah.
And it works out. But yeah, I'm excited. Excited for the new season. Excited to see how these teams play. Coming into the new season, or at least right now, we have we ready for patch notes?
Yep.
The patch notes, the 10.2 Season of Monsters, the Manicore King bonus update. Live March 7th. And
Yesterday.
currently it is March 8th, yes. With that, we get 2 new skins, Horror Skin, Hui Skin. They're cool.
Yeah, pretty cool.
I'm big fan. I like the Horror Skin, personally.
I like them both.
Yeah.
We gotta go through this quick though.
Yes. Okay. Heroism getting changed. I really haven't seen a lot. I haven't been playing a lot recently though. So,
apparently, it's being played a decent amount at the higher levels.
Yes. Yeah. I'm sure that's where they have to balance around.
All right.
This with stacking shields definitely made people hard to kill. Now it's going to be getting gold per 5 in the next update, not this update. So they basically just nerfed it. So right now, don't buy it. Maybe by the time we upload this video, it'll be better. So then you can buy it. But right now, don't buy this item. Pelican's Ring was just shifted to be more of an early game instead of a late game item. This with the addition of Cyclopean Ring.
It's also just worse.
Yeah. Now it is.
Yeah.
I thought Pelican's Ring was better now. They made it early game item. Personally.
Right, but after this new update, it is worse again.
It's worse, for sure. Yep. And so the physical ADCs looked awful. Mage ADCs are like assassins in the carry role, where your main competitive options. So now they're nerfing 2 of these rings, just decreasing scaling, power, attack speed. Each one, go check it out. Assassins got nerfed. I mean, what you saw that assassins were doing very good in the plans, and they're playing very good in our casual games. And so, what do you think this is going to bring?
Carry. What was that?
I mean, what do you think this change is going to bring? I mean, it's the same at the end game. You're still going to get the same penetration bonus from your class passive. So basically, they nerfed the class passive. You're getting, instead of 5 plus 0.25 penetration for level, you're getting 2 plus 0.4 penetration for level. At level 20, you're hitting 10 penetration either way. Just takes longer to get there now.
Right.
You think that's going to have a big effect?
Well, on the early game.
Well, for sure. Yeah, I don't
know. I mean, jungles aren't necessarily good right now because they're jungle, because of this. It's a big part of it, but it's not the only reason. It's because a lot of the other roles don't feel that good.
Yeah, I think that
physical carries didn't feel good. So you were going either a jungler or a mage. Right. Solo doesn't feel very good right now. So you go an assassin and build damage there. It might not have been the most meta, but I was seeing it more than I normally would.
Right. Yeah, I think you're.
It don't matter. I don't think it's going to change. It might change them being played in carry. It's not going to change them being played in solo.
I see all the dramatic jungle SPL players posting on Twitter. They said jungle's a dead role now, which I don't think that's true. That's a stretch. You know, they're
all right. If any role's dead,
be
it's carry because physical carries are still bad, and your other two options are nerfed.
right. I think it is better. It's a slower late game. Slower. Wow. Let's reset that thought. Slower early game. You're not gonna go off too hot at the start. You know, I could, as an assassin right now, I could walk into mid level 2 after clearing your backs, and just kill the mid laner if they're not playing exactly how they should be.
Yeah.
So I think it's definitely needed. Like, they were strong.
Yeah, no, they definitely needed to do this.
But you know, I like to watch everything play out in the SPL because everything's being utilized to its highest ability
Right.
potential, and so you can really see what's going on there.
Right.
But
Yeah, this is one of those changes where it's like it matters, but it doesn't change the meta in any way. You know what I mean?
It also says this next main update will include meaningful changes to the jungle route and pathing. So they might change the map up a little bit. We'll see.
Interesting.
The only assassin item they changed is Jotun's. They decreased its power by 5 from 45 to 40 on all upgrades, all glyph upgrades. They're the tier 3 Jotuns, and then it's 2 glyphs.
All right.
I don't think that's gonna have a big impact whatsoever.
It's 5 power.
I mean, you can really build on certain jungles. You just build a transcendence into a soul eater, and it gives you almost the same thing.
Yeah, or you just still build Jotuns.
Or you can still build Jotuns. Yeah, it's not a not buy anymore. You know.
Yeah.
On characters like Cleona, I'm skipping this entirely and just going to those two.
Yeah.
Now to our mages. Mages are pretty strong right now.
Maybe not
big
anymore
deal.
after this, but I feel like they're still probably going to be pretty good.
Yeah, I think the build will change possibly.
It's not going to involve Book of Thoth.
Book of Thoth gets nerfed from 80 to 70 power. The magical power from item mana goes to 7% to 6%. And I don't think it's gonna have a huge effect. It could bump Book of Thoth out of the meta.
I feel like that's a lot.
Evolved goes from 10% to 8%. And that's a big thing. I think the Evolved Book of Thoth, that change right there from 10 to 8, it's barely better than past non-evolved Book of Thoth.
Right.
And so how big of a power spike are you getting there? Not that much, 2%. It was 3 before. So we'll see. I think that's going to take some time to play out and see how that changes things.
Yep.
Same with this Tablet of Destiny's nerf. From 0.14% to 0.12% of your max mana as true damage.
This
I think
nerf
that one will still
isn't enough.
I think
They needed to
Book of
put it
Thoth
at
is
0.1.
out. Tablet's going to be your back end. Tablet was always in, but Tablet's still going to be in.
Right. And it's weird because Thoth is the item that Tablet combos best with, right? So it might not be in, but not because of this piddly little nerf that doesn't matter. It's like 10. That's like 10 damage. They took 10 damage off of it, whatever. But they took a lot more damage off of it by nerfing Book of Thoth, frankly.
I think you could go like a Chronos Pennant Ethereal Staff. Not in that order, but with Tablet of Destinies, and that'd still make it. You would be tanky. You'd be throwing abilities, and they would be doing true damage.
Yeah.
I think that this would be something that would pair very well with a Book of the Dead, which, thank God, is not in the game anymore. I hated that item, but Yeah, just anything that's going to give you mana and make you a little tankier with the tablet is going to work out pretty well.
Yeah.
Allow you to slang abilities. Here's one, okay, with you being your little solo main kind of thing. Glad Shield gets nerfed. How do you feel about that?
So here's the thing. In this, they say we're continuing to focus on the items that allow warriors to have high damage output even while building tanky. The problem with that is that building tanky doesn't even fucking make you tanky, right? So what they're saying is that we want you to build tanky and then die instantly and do no damage while you're dying.
Yeah.
Right? Like there needs to be less percent bin. You know what I mean? Mainly. Like this change is fine in a vacuum because warriors probably don't need to be doing as much damage as they're doing while they're building tanky, but they need to be more tanky while they're building tanky. That's the problem right now.
I remember a game I had last week. I had 300 protections of each on Cthulhu and like, I don't know, 400 magical power. Anyway, I was doing damage. I was being melted at 300 of each protections and like 3,500 health. I don't think I should be getting I mean, I could walk up to their 2 carries for... Okay. And it's like... I could walk up to their 2 carries for 3 seconds before I was a quarter HP. And I mean, I feel like I should be able to... Having 300 of each be a little tankier.
For sure.
So I think
it's not even necessarily that hunters are doing too much damage. It's that like mages and jungles are doing too much damage with abilities. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. The mages are hitting super hard. The junglers are hitting super hard. It's not fun. And then this doesn't make it any better that Sunring Axe is getting nerfed.
Yep. If you're a solo, you're building Bluestone or Animosity.
Yeah.
That's what this makes. There were 3 and here's the thing, I don't necessarily hate it, because this was getting built on mids and stuff, and they didn't want that. So it's one of those things where it's like, in a vacuum, I don't hate it. But they're like they're making solo even worse, and it's already a weak role.
Yeah. I think solo late game is a stronger role. I mean, it's a bottom 3 role. A late game, early game, it's a bottom 3 role. But it at least moves up a spot in late game. Early game, I think solos. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I get soloed 5 times early game. I don't care. Once you both hit 20, it's an even game. I mean,
right. And it sucks because solo lane used to be so fun in the laning phase, and now it's so much harder to box because the lane's so much further. But you are less safe at the halfway point in the solo lane this season than you were at their tower line last season.
Yeah, that's
because of all the changes that have been made. So it's so much harder to do a bunch of boxing because at the point where you're naturally meeting is the furthest you can go and not die. You can't really chase people down if you don't know where the jungle is.
Yeah. Oh. Definitely. But they did help you out a little bit.
Yeah. The tower shield buff is nice, for sure. That's a big buff to that.
Doubled the procs, gave it 15 to made it 30 procs.
Too bad they made glass shield worse, so you're less likely to want to build it.
Right.
Like
maybe this is good for Bologna.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I still think glass shield's going to be built. I don't think that 5% difference is a huge change.
For sure, it will.
Yeah. No, it's one of honestly, I will say these changes in a vacuum with what they're saying they want do exactly what they want perfectly. The problem is they're not doing the other half of that and making solos actually be able to be tanky. They want solos to not do a ton of damage and be tanky. This helps them not do a lot of damage. They're not making them tanky.
My question I'll pose to you: would you rather see them like they did this patch, nerf everything that is OP and good? Or would you rather have them buff the things that are lacking? You know, the things that you aren't seeing a lot. Would you rather have them buff those?
Both.
Okay.
Just both. Like, in terms of like testing to make sure everything's balanced, that's what takes time. But with some of the changes it makes, I'm not 100% sure they fucking do that. To be honest, it feels like sometimes it feels like they just change numbers randomly. To go into the
Right.
actual code and change like the percentages, unless they're, I mean, I know their code is a buggy, shitty mess. All games are. Like, that's not even taking a shot at them. Every game's code is terrible. Every code for everything is terrible. Code is terrible. And I can say that because I've
Something
coded.
you would know.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not coded at a high level. I've coded. It's everything is a mess, especially when working with other people. But like you have the time to do both. They could have done both. They could have buffed the weaker items, and I don't think they buffed anything except for Tower Shield.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Let me look through
items.
this. Did anything else get a buff? Nope. Everything else is there.
Abyssal Stone, the Phalanx. What are some other things I haven't seen? I mean,
Hammer that has the healing.
yeah. Dawnbringer.
Sure. I don't know its name. I haven't seen it all season.
Right. Those are just items that I haven't seen at all, and it's not going to bring them in if they don't get buffed. But
Right.
then people complain either way. You know, there's such a power creep. You're buffing every item
Right.
when you're buffing the bad items, and so everything's just going to keep getting better and better, and to the point where everyone's like one-shotting each other. You know.
Right.
But then as soon as they do this, something like this, everyone's like, all they do is nerf things. Like, why aren't they buffing anything?
Right.
And it's like, it's hard to find a middle ground. But I think,
All right. And if you look at like their changes they make, like they're pretty good at doing buffs and nerfs,
right.
except for two warriors because they just keep giving everything percent pin.
Well, okay, here's my thought on it. Is you still have to look out for your base, your major player base. And a tank meta is never fun for anyone but the tank. You know?
Yeah.
And so as soon I think it did come into a tank meta there, but it was a bit extreme. I think the mitigations was a bit extreme. And I'm glad they nerfed it because that was much. But they need
Yes.
to bring it back somehow.
Right. Here's the thing:
And
is for sure you are right. However, that was OP for 1 week and they changed it. Kin size has been in the meta for carries for 3 years, literally since I started playing,
they
and
just
it got a
buffed
buff. Yeah. So
So
like you can't say that. Kin size has been the best carry item for 3 years, and they buffed it. And something's good for warriors for 1 week, and it gets a nerf.
yeah, I don't know how I felt about the kin size buff, but whether you like it or not,
Yeah.
it's here. So I guess real quickly, trying to wrap things up, on to the gods. Mercury got a nerf. I've been seeing him in all my games, all my ranked games. I'm sure you have too. He's really good. It's just the movement speed from the jungle buff, since that got increased and then decreased. It just makes him better. So they nerf his passive a little bit. Nerf his cooldown on his one.
I think
Is
that's
it gonna be a
probably the
big
right amount of
difference?
change.
Huh?
I think that's going to be the right amount of change. I don't think it's going to make him too weak. I think he's going to still be pretty good.
He's not gonna be at the top anymore. And I
Right.
think that's
Because
good.
the passive, the part of the passive they nerfed is just his first punch in a fight, which admittedly is a lot, but it's still
Right.
going to be a lot. It's just not going to be as much. And then a 1 second cooldown change on the square. It's just clear, so it definitely slows him down a little bit.
Once you have your itemized correctly, it'll be like nothing. But, if you have like a golden blade and an eye of the jungle, you won't be able to like 6 auto anyone anymore. It'll be like a 7 auto.
Yeah.
And so like I think that'll be fine.
Yep.
Surtur. His 3 got nerfed. His Ember Walk, that's the big ring around him that slows people, makes you faster. It just decreased his slow and decreased his movement speed.
Yeah, here's my question. Where's the change? This is nothing. They did nothing.
You don't think?
I don't think they did. If you don't have a dash, you're still going to be stuck in it. The only way to get out of it is still a dash.
My
And this
biggest
wasn't
problem with him.
the biggest problem with that ability. The biggest problem is that it did a bunch of fucking damage. They should have nerfed the damage on it, and that would have been a more significant change.
I've seen this happen to myself multiple times, and I've seen many videos where this happens to people, where you get inside and he's right up next to you, and he uses that, and you start walking out, and you realize you're slowed, and you're getting really low health, so you beads it to get out, but you cannot reach the edge before you're dead. That's happened to me at least 3 times. I've seen it happen to pro player, like on YouTube, on Twitch, at least 5 times, where people are in it, they beads, and then the movement speed is still too high, and so you can't get out of it. And so I think being able, I don't know if this will make sacrificing a beads enough to get you out, but if it would, I think that would be the perfect change, because it's not like you're giving up too much with him.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. If that is fixed because of this change, then it is a real change. But
Right.
it still doesn't change. He's still too good. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
I
like
think
the main things this does is that if you like don't do that, you still don't really get away from this change. It's not enough if you're not beadsing it. You know.
he's a pretty heavy lockdown god.
Yep. He's still
Which I
very
think
strong. They needed to nerf
he's
the damage on it. It would have been a much bigger change if they nerfed the damage on the 3.
I think he's a top 5 solo right now.
I think he's top 1.
I think that is debatable.
Who are you putting there?
Are you gonna make me pull up my list?
Sure. I will just say, Fino made a tier list, and he was like, Surtur is definitely number 1.
Really?
Yep.
I don't know. I think you could put something like a Herc. I think Herc's the only other option
Herc's
you have
pretty
for number
good.
1.
I'd definitely rather have Surtur.
That's fair. I mean, Surtur is really good. And then last but not least, we have.
No, it's least. They just fixed the bug.
Yeah, it's pretty much least. Last and least.
Yeah.
They fixed the Heim bug, making his 2. Is that his 2? Is that his 1? Is that his 3? I don't know. I don't play Heim.
Neither do I.
His sword, the big sword he throws in the air.
How fast do you think I can get Reed to answer me about which ability that is? I'm not gonna try. Whatever.
I think
it's called Piercing Sight.
Yeah.
Whichever one that
the one where he
is.
throws a sword in the air and it's a little circle on the ground. It does the normal damage that it should have done before.
Right.
It's his 1, by the way.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much wraps it up for the day. I think we talked. I love talking power rankings, and I know
I do too.
you really enjoy stuff like that as well. And so that kind of stretched this video out.
Oh, for sure. Oni Warriors, baby. 3 seed. Calling it. Calling my shot.
I can't wait, man.
Yeah.
But you know what? Alex, if you were any good at jungle, you would gank right lane.